Good afternoon, everybody. I'm Dave Decker, the Chair of the Resource Management Committee. We'll start our meetings this afternoon with the pledge. I'd like to welcome everybody that's in the chambers and watching via Facebook. Thank you. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. And we'll have roll call for the Resource Management Committee.
Mr. Decker,
Here.
Mr. Graves,
Here.
Mr. Barnes,
Present.
Mr. Dibble,
Here.
Mr. Fanton,
Here.
Mr. Harris, and Mr. Crandall.
Here.
7 members present.
Thank you. Next on the agenda is approval of the minutes from the May 19th meeting. Moved by Mr. Dibble. Do I have a second? Second by Mr. Harris. Any additions or corrections to those minutes? Hearing none, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor of approving the minutes, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? And carried. First report this afternoon is from Scott Torrey, Soil and Water Conservation Executive Director. Afternoon, Scott.
Hi. You have my report in there. If there's any questions about that, to add to that, a couple of our guys are out today working with the village of Wellsville to look at their flooding issues on Williams Avenue. So hopefully we can provide them with a solution on that issue.
Okay. That reminds me, it's not on the agenda, but where are we with the flooding there in Cuba that goes out 446 towards Maplehurst?
We've looked at it. I can send you the emails that were exchanged with them. I think some of the issue is it actually is a floodplain, and whether we can work around that with FEMA and do something, or I'm not sure yet.
Mm-hmm. So you have been in email contact with the landowner and the village?
Our engineer Leonard Preston and technicians Kyle Redmond have been out there. They met with, I think, Lee James and some other officials, maybe from DEC, and looked at the issues. And I know Leonard's corresponded with them with email afterwards.
Okay. Could you, if you have another meeting, could you make sure that my email is on there?
Sure.
Because I found out about the meeting after the fact, and I
Okay.
would have liked to sit in on it.
Yeah, and I can send you what Leonard had responded to the group about that.
Okay. All right.
It'll be a long process if we can't do anything there.
Right. Yeah, that's so level back there, though. It's been dredged before, and it just takes a good gully washer, and it fills back up, and then
Yeah, and
overruns its banks again.
realistically, the floodplain's doing what it's supposed to do. So
Right.
it's just unfortunate there's buildings there.
Yep. All right. Then, Scott, the next thing you have is a request to solicit bids for timber sale on Rattlesnake Hill.
Yes, I have the totals in there for what we are putting out to bid. We are also working with DEC to gain use of their access road to take the logs out of there.
Okay.
I'll move it, Mr. Chairman. So
Moved by Mr. Graves,
Second by Fanton.
second by Dwight Fanton. Yeah, the total is 232,135 board feet.
Yep.
Okay. And the timber stand improvement cut, looks like there's 3,041 board feet of ash. Scott, what is the cull stems? What are,
There's just some stems that need to be taken out. Some trees need to be taken out to improve the stand that's growing now.
okay. All right. All those in, what? Yes, Mr. Harris.
It's going to be on the same bid because it's in the same lot, and those stems really don't amount to much. There's just things that need to be taken out. I believe we're going to do it before the bid opening, before the next resource management meeting. I can't remember the exact amount. It's going to be a little bit less because there has been a discrepancy in the boundary up there. So there's a few acres we had to take out till we get that settled.
Thank you. Mr. Barnes?
Yeah, just a quick question. A question concerning the price of lumber is gone up quite significantly. Is that going to be mean that we're going to get a little bit better price in these next bids?
I would hope so, but we won't really know until we get the bids in. I know Mr. Healy had mentioned that he saw where the timber or lumber prices had dropped some. So whether that trickles down quickly, I don't know. It's hard to say at this time.
Thank you.
All right. Anything else on that, Scott?
I don't think so.
All right. Did I call the question? No. All right. All in favor of going out to bid on these timber prices? Say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? And that's carried. And then next on the agenda, Scott, we have the request for the Allegheny County Soil and Water Conservation District's next 3-year contract with the county.
I'll move it, Mr. Chairman.
Moved by Mr. Graves, second by Mr. Harris. You've got those in front of you. Does anybody have any questions about the 3-year contract? That would take effect January 1st, 2022 and expire in 3 years. Yes, Mr. Harris.
I know it's flat since the beginning of the new contract. Is there any increase from the current contract?
For 2021, we were supposed to get 145,000 and some change, so it's up a few $100s from what we were supposed to get in 2021, just to make it an even number.
Right. Mr. Barnes.
I had that same question, but you answered that. Thank you. Can you just in 25 words or less, kind of explain the connection between the county soil and water district and Allegheny County? For instance, who do you work for?
Well, we work for the county, and I guess as an offset organization, we also report stuff to the state, and we get funding from the state as well.
But do you get a salary from Allegheny County, or
No.
do you get it from the soil?
From soil and water.
But because of this contract, that's the reason that you're here, is to
Mm-hmm.
report to us as a part of that contract.
Correct.
And most of the keep forgetting to turn on the microphone. Most of the woodlands that you're talking about, are they owned by the county, or are they owned by the soil district?
There's approximately 2,000 acres that are owned by the county, and the county contracts with us as part of this contract to manage those.
Okay. Does the soil district own their own property themselves?
No, we own the building that we're housed in, and the county owns the property that our building sits on. It was originally purchased for soil and water back in, I believe, the 40s.
And last question, how many employees are there in the soil?
We have 4 full-time and 1 part-time.
And is one of those an engineer? I
Yes.
heard you talk about an engineer.
Yep.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Any other questions for Scott? Okay. We're all set, right? Yes. So we'll call a question on extending the contract for 3 years at the level price of $146,000. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? And carried. Is there anything else, Scott?
I don't think so.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Next, we have Brian Perkins, Youth Bureau report.
Hello there, everybody. Thanks for having me.
Hi, Brian.
You did get my report. There wasn't a whole lot to highlight other than I was extremely excited to be able to get back in the schools and do some bike safety, which technically is the Stop DWI side of my position, but obviously there's a connection to the Youth Bureau as well. So made my visits around some of the schools in the county. Particularly enjoyed my stop in Canaseraga, as my grandmother told me. That's how it's pronounced. So
Yeah, when I was going to school, it was the same way.
every year I get to tell the second graders that it's Canaseraga, and they argue with me, and then I ask them how they sing it in the alma mater, and then you get that expression of, wait a minute.
Well, wonderment, yeah.
So,
All right.
but it's been good, and I do have one more scheduled for a summer trip over to Andover. They're doing a summer program for the kids, and they're doing a safety day and asked me to come for bike safety for that. There does seem like there's going to be a few more summer programs trying to run this year than last year, so that's great. Good to see some of them bounce back. I think some of them were still a little unsure about what regulations might be there and how things were going to work. So hopefully next year we can bring a few more of them back even. And we did finally get our approval stuff for the 2020 year. So now I'm still waiting to hear about what our allocations are going to be for our programs in 2021. I've been told in all of those conversations to just expect what they've gotten before, that we should be able to get it. But I haven't gotten the official, here's what it is yet. So still waiting on that. But other than that, we're moving along.
Okay. How many bicycle helmets did you get this year?
Bike helmets, we haven't actually ordered any more yet. We still had enough of a stock to cover what we had going. We'll have enough for the fair, and then we'll have to get an order in and be ready to go for next year. But the fair with Traffic Safety Board, that's more Stop DWI side. But yeah, we've got equipment and the giveaway items and things like that. We'll be getting some more, but we'll be good.
Okay. Anybody have any questions for Brian? Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Next, we have Laura Hunsberger, Cooperative Extension. Good afternoon, Laura.
Good afternoon.
Is there anything that you'd like to highlight on your report?
Well, we changed up what it looks like a little bit. We put a page in the front with some highlights. So for those people who don't want to read through the exhaustive 4 or 5 pages of detail, the highlights are on the front page. So we did have some ramping up of programming. As you can see, we have the livestock composting program, which had a lot of people registered. And then Cassandra Bull, our farm to school educator, held a program last Wednesday for ag teachers. It was over at the WE Center at Bolivar Richburg. And Patricia Eshelman received her National Ag in the Classroom Teacher of the Year award at that. So it's been, things are moving along. And as you know, with fair now being fair, instead of planning in January, as we usually start, we had 6 weeks to get ready. So it's a little insane.
Imagine so. Is there anything that anyone saw in the report that they'd like more clarification on with Laura? And that's it. We didn't have anything that needs any action, did we?
Not to my knowledge.
Mr. Dibble?
Any progress on your building downtown?
Hurry up and wait. It's just we met with an engineer and the surveyor to work on the site plan for parking, and we're in the process of that right now. But thank you for asking. And Mr. Curran, it's nice to see you back. I'm glad you're doing better.
Mr. Barnes, you had a question?
Yeah, the dairy industry, as with the setback with the Great Lakes situation, is the local dairy, is there some feedback from them that as to what the consequences are?
I don't have that sort of information, but we, so the Southwest New York Ag Team that covers dairy, livestock, and field crops, our dairy specialist just left to go get her PhD, and we've hired a replacement for her who is experienced in a different way in the dairy industry. So I'm anticipating a more direct route of connection with the dairy industry as far as hearing what's going on with that. I know that, so we were very, as you can imagine, everybody was very disappointed to hear that the plant was not going to move forward. We had planned on trying to develop some workforce training through a grant opportunity for all the dairy manufacturing plants in our area. Cornell is going to move forward with that training through the 14 Appalachian Regional Commission states in New York to offer workforce training opportunities for all the cheese plants. So everything over to Binghamton, maybe a little bit further over to Chautauqua. So we're still out there to support the industry. I'm not really sure what it's going to look like, though. So I did hear that sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you. When I mentioned to them about the plant, being vacant, what sort of opportunities does that offer for, could something like, artisanal cheese, something totally different from what we normally produce here, could something like that go in? And the people at Cornell said that dairy plants rarely stay vacant for more than a year or two. So it's still 2 years, but it's fingers crossed that something will go in there.
Thank you.
Thank you. And probably some more of those questions will be answered once we find out more what direction everybody's going in.
Yep.
Any other questions for Laura today? Mr. Ricky?
No, I was saying hello to the
Oh! I thought you had your hand up. I'm
Thanks for that.
very sorry. All right. Thank you very much, Laura.
Thanks.
Is there any old business to come before the committee? Is there any new business? Good of the order?
Mr. Chairman, as it appears there's no further business to conduct, I move we adjourn.
Moved by Mr. Graves, seconded by Mr. Fenton. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? And that's carried. We are adjourned. Thank you.